It's not too often you hear about the good things that come out of war, but tonight a story about kindness and fate during one of the darkest periods in history. 89-year-old Harry Henderson of Sparta is a decorated World War II veteran.
Oh, wow. From
a Bronze Star to a Purple Heart to numerous other honors, Harry saw the worst of the worst.
It's amazing.
Harry was part of the 101st Airborne Division, 506 Parachute Regiment, landing on the shores of Normandy on D-Day and later taking part in the Battle of the Bulge. But 65 years after the war, it's not an act of bravery or heroism that's being remembered. It's one small gesture of kindness.
I've known Harry since I was, 5, 6 years old. You know, we grew up out in Leon, and his kids and I went to the same school.
This was done in 1945.
When lifelong friend Phil Green volunteered to be Harry's guardian on the Freedom Honor flight to Washington, D.C. back in June, he had no idea the incredible story he was about to help uncover.
While I was up in his room, he's showing me his 506 scrapbook and all of that stuff. And then he hands me this letter, and that letter was in these little plastic page protectors, so I knew it had to be something special.
The letter was written by a Belgian woman named Marie Lipstad-Pinnes, a Jew who at just 14 years old had survived 4 years in a Nazi concentration camp.
1945, 27 April 1945. The cannon thundered the whole night through. It was early in the morning that American troops liberated our concentration camp. A little lost, naturally, what to do with this newfound freedom. I walked into Turkenheim looking for some friendly face, somebody friendly, and when a GI, very tall, addressed me sharply, I didn't understand English, so I showed him my forearm, on which he could clearly see my tattoo concentration camp registration number. Then, very simply, without comment, he took my hand and led me into a well-stocked clothes store.
After 4 years stuck in a nightmare, wearing only rags, the GI gave her a brand new dress. And then, just as quickly as he entered her life, he was gone.
I don't remember his face, but in my mind is imprinted the memory of this soldier who gave me back the appearance of a free girl. If he's still alive, and I hope so, I would like him to know that I often think about him, and it would be marvelous if he could recognize himself in this story.
So I'm reading this letter, and being that I know Harry, I'm reading this whole letter thinking he's going to tell me he's that GI.
Sure enough, it was indeed Harry. The letter was published in a Belgium newspaper in 1969, but Harry only learned of it at a war reunion in 1984. And in all that time, he never said anything to anyone.
So I read the letter and I ask him, "Are you the GI?" And he goes, "Yes." I said, "You know where she is?" "No." I said, "You want to find her?" "Yeah." So I took the letter, I made some copies of it, I took it home, I showed my wife, and in about 2 minutes, she had a picture of Marie.
It turns out Marie had never forgotten about Harry. She would travel around Europe telling her story and speaking of the unknown soldier who gave her so much more than just a new dress.
Oh, it was pretty emotional. I tell you, my wife and I, we'd just sit there and look at each other like, what are we doing? We didn't know.
An unlikely bond born out of a horrific war. And all these years later, one small gesture still not forgotten. And finally, a chance to say thank you. Now, there were a lot of stars that aligned in this story, so to speak. Marie had attended a war reunion in Europe back in 2004 and told her story to a band promoter there from the United Kingdom. He put the letter and her story on his website, and then it eventually made its way back here to the U.S. Now, coming up tomorrow night, we'll hear from Harry about that day back in 1945 when he first met Marie, and also see how Marie was finally able to thank Harry
for his good deed.
Well, I tell you what, one of the things, I don't get to see these stories in advance, but to see such humanity at a time when there's so much inhumanity is truly remarkable.
Yeah, it's, you're gonna hear this tomorrow night, but him being remembered for this one simple act of kindness when he did so many other things in the war and went through so much. It is really remarkable.
I look forward to tomorrow night. Thanks, Mike.